You can listen to my entire life soundtrack, the whole thing, as a playlist on Apple Music, Spotify, as well as Tidal. All you have to do is look up Songology with Alexis Rogers. So my mom didn't listen to secular music, so gospel was a must. I'm pretty sure she had like the same 4 CDs in her car. It was always Donnie McClurkin. It was always, I'm pretty sure it was like a Wow Gospel album, Kirk Franklin, CeCe Winans, and it would just go all the time. Now my dad, he was a huge Parliament fan. Like, Flashlight, the 20-minute version, played often. Funk, you know, I mean, you get a little Bootsy Collins in there, a little George Clinton, you know. He was into hip hop too. I mean, and I think that kind of started to interest me, but always R&B, like R&B jazz. He used to have this crazy CD collection, all the Toni Braxton you can find, deep tones. And that made me interested because as a girl, I've always had like a deep tone voice. So I would always be interested in hearing like the different sounds, but music always played. But then my uncle, I grew up with my uncle watching us all day. He moved in with us and he was my caretaker while my parents went to work. And he had such an eclectic palette. He was a record collector. He was a collector of things, records, cards, you name it. And we were very close. And he introduced me to rock. I mean, I was really into like Evanescence and like Nirvana at one point. I guess he had the history of Kurt Cobain and would like go around the country with them. And he always marched to the beat of his own drum too. He was an artist. And I remember, I want to say her name was Diamond. It was the singer out of the UK. And we would listen over and over. He loved like soulful music out of the UK. But it really just, my palette, like even one time I remember my husband, when we were dating, my like iPod or whatever was playing. And he was like, "Is that you too?" I was like, But, you know, and now being older, like I love neo soul. Like Anita Baker's one of my favorite singers. PJ Morton is like, I don't want to say a new favorite, but like, my goodness, you know, like he speaks my language in this time of my life. So, you know, for everything, I can hear a beat in every scene. It's weird like that.
When you went to the record store, did it make you think, like when you walked in, did it make you think of your uncle?
The moment that I smelled the paper on the records, I was like, man. My first thought was like, I wonder how Uncle Darius is doing. And I could just, it almost takes me back. I have these like That's So Raven moments where if I smell a certain scent or hear a certain sound or see a certain thing, and it's almost like an out-of-body experience. Like I can picture myself, I can envision myself where I was doing whatever I was doing when I first initially, you know, took to that scent or sound or whatever. And records, but that they have a very like keen smell to them. You know, that it's you can kind of almost like smell the story in them. You can kind of, you know, picking it up and smelling it, like you know if someone has played it a lot, you know, you could even tell. Like I remember when he would pick up things and look at them, and you know, let's say it was like a blues album or a jazz album, you know, sometimes he'd be like, "Hey, you see these like tear stains? Somebody was going through it with this one." Or, you know, when you see that a record's been played a ton, you know, obviously it had a space in that person's life for a reason. Like them and that record did life together at some point. It's just always interesting like that. Like I know people, I feel like people don't hold pictures in their wallets anymore, but You always could tell if somebody was really proud of something when they unfolded that picture they just had to keep near them, or you could see that they've looked at it a ton, or it's a little tattered, but it still meant something. Like, that's music and records, and for the longest, music is free, so you can't really hold on to it, but a record you can. So I get it. I understand. Hey there, make sure that you check out all of the behind the scenes and all the cool things surrounding my episode on IWPTV.com.